I'm always angry.
Hulk Anatomy, exploring how one of the strongest Avengers functions. While the Hulk is one of the most popular superheroes of all time, there's much speculation regarding the specifics of his anatomy and bodily functions. We all know that exposure to gamma radiation resulted in Banner's ability to transform into the Hulk. Still, there's not a lot of clarity needed on how exactly his body transforms into the gigantic green mutant, or up to what extent can the Hulk exercise his strength in order to defeat his enemies.
And Hulk. Smash.
Today, we will explore various aspects of this gamma mutant and look into the bodily functions of the Hulk, the strongest member of the Avengers. But before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. So thank you, and let's begin. Childhood trauma contributed to Bruce Banner becoming the Hulk. The Hulk movies have never explained why Hulk was filled with rage, or why the gamma mutant seemed to reflect the rage held within Bruce Banner's mind. His anger actually dates back to Banner's childhood, when he lived in an abusive household with his father, Brian Banner. Brian used to physically abuse his wife, Rebecca Banner, and his son, Bruce. Since Brian worked in the field of radiation, he was quite angry with himself, and he blamed himself for the mutated genes of his son. Moreover, he was also jealous of how much love Bruce received from his mother. Eventually, Rebecca died at Brian's hands, and a young Bruce Banner witnessed his mother's death. Brian was then sent to a mental hospital, and Bruce was raised by his aunt along with his cousins, and he lived with the burden of a traumatic childhood. Though Bruce grew up to be fine, he had a lot of internalized anger and rage that often came out whenever he turned into the Hulk. The gamma radiation only helped bring out the person trapped within Bruce's body, and it also suggested that Bruce could only finally control the Hulk after he processes his childhood trauma. Why is the Hulk so angry all the time? Exploring how his mind works. While Marvel Comics have suggested several reasons behind Banner's rage when he turns into the Hulk, one primary reason for his anger seems to lie within the fact that he is aware that he is not as intellectual as he should be. This theory was explored in What If, when the omniscient being known as the Watcher shared his views regarding the Hulk. Since Banner's genius lies within the Hulk's body, the gamma mutant is often frustrated and angry with his own inability to access his inner persona. Since the Hulk's rationality and intelligence decreases as he gets angrier and more robust, he ends up in a cycle of anger and frustration with himself. And more than being mad at the world around him, the Hulk's anger could be a result of his own self-loathing. Of course, another theory traces his anger back to Banner's childhood, wherein he grew up in an abusive household where his father killed his own mother. According to this view, Banner is angry all the time because he hasn't dealt with the trauma of his childhood, causing him to feel so much rage at all times. The Hulk is labeled as the strongest superhero in the world and seen as an Omega level threat in the Marvel Universe. The angrier he gets with himself, the more his strength and durability increase, and consequently, he becomes an even bigger threat. Why is his strength almost limitless? While most superheroes have some limits to their strengths and abilities, the Hulk's strengths do not seem to have an upper limit. While the Hulk has limitless powers, various pieces of media suggest that the Hulk adjusts his strength based on the situation that he is in. On one hand, the Hulk single-handedly lifts an entire mountain in the Secret Wars storyline, but on the other hand, he also refrains from destroying every single opponent who comes his way. This suggests that the Hulk's powers are tied directly to his rage, and he keeps getting stronger as he becomes angrier. While the Hulk is generally in a state of rage, there are instances when a few villains make him even more enraged, and then he surpasses his usual limits of strength. Even if the Hulk does not utilize his strengths to their fullest, he rightfully holds the title of the strongest superhero out there. Why why can the Hulk not die? Exploring the concept of the Green Door in the End comic book. The Green Door is a metaphorical barrier that connects the real world to the below place that lies at the bottom of the multiverse. When Gamma mutants die, their souls cross the below place and they end up at a point where they can return to the real world through the Green Door. However, the Gamma mutants have to wait until the Green Door manifests into existence before them, and they also have no memory of being resurrected after passing through the door. When Bruce Banner detonated the Gamma bomb that caused an explosion and killed him, the Gamma radiation resurrected him as the Hulk. It even resulted in the opening of a Green Door in New Mexico. In the End comic book, an elderly Bruce Banner wanders around a barren land, and he seems to be surviving only due to the Hulk's healing factor and ability to survive on anything. While the Hulk emerges whenever Bruce feels agitated, the Gamma mutant is frustrated because he wants to be free from Bruce's body. Hulk finally decides to return to his birthplace in New Mexico when the cries for the dying people and the nuclear explosions in the world start bothering him. He traps himself inside a cave by blocking the entrance with a boulder and then lives peacefully with Banner trapped inside his body. Banner often tried to commit suicide and end their story, but the Hulk always managed to stop him as he was intent on living. After a while, Banner pleads with the Hulk to just let him die as he feels his body failing. While the Hulk refuses to die, he later realizes that Banner has already died and left him alive. The Hulk then decides to never change back into Banner since he would also die, and he is then content with the fact that Banner is finally alone. Moreover, the Hulk was a Gamma mutant, which meant that he could always come back to life by passing through the Green Door, even if he did die. How does he get all of his incredible muscles and extra mass for the massive size after transformation? While Banner's transformation into the Hulk appears impressive, it is actually a painful process that causes Bruce an unimaginable amount of discomfort. Every time Banner transformed into the Hulk, he basically had to create a whole new body within moments, and this process must have been excruciating for him. He could use his supernatural powers to absorb gamma rays and then divide the cells within his body in order to build more muscles. To complete this transformation, billions of new cells grow within Banner's body at a super fast speed, and they essentially grow the new body with incredible muscles and body mass. Even when the Hulk was injured during a fight, he could use this energy to divide his body cells and repair any wounds. According to the official handbook of the Marvel Universe, gamma rays from an unknown source added hundreds of pounds of bone marrow and bodily tissues to the Hulk's physique, which also provided some explanation regarding Hulk's massive post-transformation body. Does Hulk's body have regenerative powers? Indeed, the Incredible Hulk's body has regenerative powers, and he can even regrow his entire head or limbs when they are cut off. This is portrayed in the Immortal Hulk comics, where the mighty superhero regrew his head after Bushwhacker launched an attack on his head and blew half of his brains away. Despite being critically injured, the Hulk continued to fight with the hole in his head and kept getting smaller and smaller until it was completely healed in just a matter of minutes. In another instance, the Hulk's body was once cut up into smaller pieces and then stored in separate containers by Dr. Clive in the Shadow Base. Even though his entire body had been disintegrated, the Hulk's brain was still intact, and he can control his body parts. Finally, the Hulk managed to break free from the jars, and his entire body regenerated itself back into place at a rather surprising pace. During another Immortal Hulk storyline, insects had taken over the future world, and Banner remained to be the only surviving being amidst all the insects. While he tries to fight them, they devour his body and eat all the parts of his body except for his intestines. Even though nothing remains of his body, the Hulk somehow managed to regenerate himself and regrow all of his body parts once again. However, in one particular instance, we see that the Hulk's arm did not grow back at the end of Avengers Endgame. The Hulk had wielded the Infinity Gauntlet, which harnessed the powers of all 6 Infinity Stones, and he ended up with a permanently damaged arm at the end of the movie. While the Hulk is a mega powerful being with regenerative powers, there are some limits to his abilities. The power of the Infinity Stones was bound to end up injuring the Hulk, since he was dealing with forces that existed from the beginning of time. Can the Hulk reproduce? Comic book instances explored. While the MCU steers clear of any mentions of the Hulk's children, the mighty Gamma Mutant does have a few children in the comic book storylines. When Hulk went on a rampage in Las Vegas before the Civil War ends, the Illuminati, consisting of Doctor Strange, Black Bolt, Iron Man, and Reed Richards, sent him to outer space to keep him away from Earth. This was explored in the Planet Hulk series, wherein the Hulk's spaceship went off course and eventually landed on the ruined planet of Sakaar. Here the Hulk fought in various gladiator competitions, inspired a revolution, and ultimately married Kyra, also known as Karina. Hulk courted Karina and finally had 2 twin sons, Scar and Hero Kala. While Scar appeared like the Hulk, Hero Kala had a more human-like appearance, but was also still quite strong. Both these children also inherited the old power from Karina, and they had the ability to move entire planets through space. The Hulk soon traveled back to Earth, and his children did not know much about him. Besides the Planet Hulk arc, the Hulk had another daughter, Lyra, who came from the future. Lyra was created by Thundra when she stole Banner's DNA in order to create a mutant child. While Bruce Banner and Betty do not have any children in the MCU, the Hulk has fathered children in the comic storylines that have been excluded from the MCU. Even when the Planet Hulk series was adapted into the MCU, when Thor and his entourage landed on Sakaar during Thor Ragnarok, there were no mentions of the Hulk's sons or his wife, and they were edited out of the plot. Why does he have green skin? From a media perspective, any form of radiation is always portrayed with a green glow or flashes of green lighting resulting from the radiation. When Banner was exposed to gamma rays, it resulted in an explosion full of green lights, which is probably why the Hulk has green skin. Additionally, all gamma mutants are connected to the green door that lies at the bottom of the multiverse, which could also have something to do with the Hulk's green skin. However, the real reason is a lot less complicated, and it has to do with the fact that it was easier to print green in the comics. While the original Hulk was gray, it caused trouble in publishing the comics because the gray ink was not consistent from page to page. Stan Lee then decided to go with green since it was much easier to print a consistent green shade in the comics. Moreover, Lee also felt that he can come up with good nicknames such as the Green Goliath and the Green Giant if the Gamma Mutant was given green skin. The mystery about the Hulk's pants revealed. While there have been countless portrayals of the Hulk across Marvel media, fans have been intrigued by the fact that Banner's pants have always stayed intact after every transformation into the Hulk. Of course, a straightforward reason behind this is the fact that they had to adhere to the comic codes that stated there couldn't be any nudity in the comics. In order to stay in line with the plot while also following the regulations, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby decided to design these huge purple pants that could be clearly seen at all times. Lee also explained why the Hulk's pants stay on after every transformation by using the example of the Fantastic Four's clothes. Since the Fantastic Four's outfits were designed using a special molecular fabric, they could also often stretch or shrink to fit their superpowers. In the same manner, Lee stated that the Hulk's pants stay on even when the mutant returns to his usual self. Another key thing that piqued the reader's interest is the fact that while Banner appears in just purple pants after transforming back to his usual self, he is always seen fully clothed in any follow-up scenes. One particular comic series featuring the Hulk stated that the superhero's purple pants are designed to have a special kit that includes some necessary items, such as a debit card. After each transformation, Banner uses this kit to withdraw money and buy himself new clothes. The MCU versions of the Hulk provided some justifications for the Hulk's pants, wherein one Edward Norton's Hulk buys stretchy purple pants just in case he transforms into the giant Hulk. All this strength, yet no power of flight. Since Hulk is one of the strongest superheroes, we can also assume that he must have the ability to manipulate gravity or energy in order to have the power of flight. However, the Hulk cannot fly despite all of his powers because he would also require wings that would enable him to move in the air without returning to the ground repeatedly. Since strength is an ability that does not relate to flying, the Hulk does not possess the power of flight. However, he can use his strength to leap from place to place. Additionally, the Hulk does not need the ability to fly because he is capable of leaping all the way from the surface of the Earth to space. Initially, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby were experimenting with the Hulk story arcs, and the Gamma Mutant gained the ability to fly in the original Hulk comics. While Banner initially started transforming into the Grey Hulk at night, he asked his friend Rick Jones to lock him up every night so that he could not cause any destruction. However, Rick Jones got swayed by General Ross's plans to use the Hulk to test a few missiles for the sake of national security. Rick laid a trap for the Hulk to follow the missiles, and General Ross's army shot him into space. The Hulk ended up in a radiation belt while he was launched into space, and this altered his physiology to an even greater extent. When Rick realizes that General Ross's intentions are not good, he brings the Hulk back to Earth. However, he realizes that the Hulk's powers have seemingly increased during this incident, and he can now move faster and make extremely powerful jumps. Hulk can even leap all the way over buildings and even reach a far-off place by just jumping. And General Ross, Rick Jones, and all the soldiers mistake his jumping for flying. However, one could also see the Hulk briefly flying into the setting sun, which suggested that maybe the Hulk could really fly, even if it was just for a short moment. Later on, Jack Kirby clarified that the Gamma Mutant was only jumping and not really defying gravity. Can he survive without oxygen or food? Though the Hulk is a seasoned superhero, he also requires oxygen and food to sustain himself. While he is capable of holding his breath for hours at end, he cannot do away with breathing completely and does require oxygen to survive. He has even suffered from oxygen deprivation in the past, and it is pretty easy to defeat the superhero if he does not have an oxygen supply. The Hulk also needs food and water to survive, but he can sometimes convert any energy around him into nutrition to keep going. This also raises the question, can Hulk survive in outer space? And fans are divided between the view that the mighty Gamma Mutant would or would not be able to survive the space's lack of atmosphere. One can argue that anything is possible in fictional worlds, and the Hulk can definitely survive space, while earlier versions of the Hulk, such as the Grey Hulk, absolutely needed oxygen and food to survive. Recent versions of the superhero have managed to sustain themselves by just adapting their body depending on the situation. In one comic book series, Nick Fury also supported this view, and he once stated that the Hulk's body could adapt even in a zero-atmosphere environment. In the Planet Hulk series, the Illuminati, consisting of Doctor Strange, Iron Man, and some other characters, decided to send the Hulk into outer space after he caused mass destruction in Las Vegas. His ship eventually landed on the planet Sakaar, and he did survive the journey through space during the story arc. Moreover, the Hulk was also seen in outer space when he returned to Earth during the World War Hulk storyline, which suggests that he can survive without oxygen in some instances. Conclusion. To sum it all up, the Hulk is a legendary superhero who has become a household name owing to his strength and unique physiology. Even though he has been a part of the Marvel Universe for a very long time, his character still holds a lot of potential, and there are a lot of things about him that are yet to be uncovered in future story arcs. And if you liked our content, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. In the meantime, have a good one and be safe, and thank you everybody for listening.